And I was lent something from, like, to my mind, one of the sort of chicest, most elegant labels that you could possibly... And I was, like, feeling so good about myself and what I was wearing. And I felt $1 million and walked in and was introduced to a writer who is, to my mind, like one of the best, most intelligent, coolest people around. And she like rubbed the sleeve of what I was wearing and went, "That looks like Primark."
Oh, God.
You're joking.
Welcome to Before the Lights. If you're new here, we're a team of health professionals based in London who train people from all over the creative world to get ready for TV, film, even live shows, but most importantly, for everyday life. I'm Dave Hasty.
I'm George Ashwell.
I'm Georgia Canavan.
And I'm Josh Betteridge.
We've been lucky enough to build a pretty special group of members here at the club, so we thought it would be nice for other people to get to know some of them as well as we do.
I was like, I think I need to start going to the gym. So I literally got out my laptop, and was like, PT's for actors.
Welcome to Before the Lights podcast, guys. I'm Greg James. With me over here is Dangerous Dave, and here is Evil George. And today we're talking grind set.
Grind set?
It's not about mindset, guys. It's about grind set.
It was the very first time I met you when you came in and you actually had to run off and be sick in the toilet.
You feel quite vulnerable when you're kind of lying on your back with your legs up in the air because you feel sick. Just breathing, and I'm like, this never happens. I'm so sorry.
So sit back, only do some exercise if you want to, and maybe even learn something about how to look after yourself. Welcome back to the Before the Lights podcast. Today I'm joined by Georgia.
Hello.
How are you? What have you been up to?
Just, you ask me this every time, and I sadly do the same
I
thing
asked you
every
because
time.
Jimmy told me to ask everyone.
Well, Jimmy.
And now it's turned into like, basically I asked, so George, Georgia or Josh will be in this chair, and none of them like answering that question. I really enjoy asking it now though.
Well, do you know what? I've been working on some exciting projects.
Ooh,
Getting up early,
okay.
lots of Pilates,
Uh-huh.
and I had a session just now with our lovely guest.
Lovely guest, who this week is the wonderful Emily Tobin, and we are stepping outside of our normal guest zone, should we call it,
Yep.
which tends to be in the film and TV and even a little bit of the music world. But we're in the magazine world, and Emily is the editor of the World of Interiors magazine.
It's pretty cool.
This is true.
Welcome, welcome.
It is
Thank
pretty
you.
cool. Like I said, typically we speak to actors and people in the film industry. So for any people in that world, can you explain a little bit about the magazine and about what you do?
Yes. So I am the editor of a magazine called The World of Interiors, which now is not only a print magazine, but it's also a website, and it's all of our social channels, and it's the video that we make, and it's the events that we do. So it's a much bigger thing than it would have been, 15, 20 years ago when you were talking about magazines. And obviously it's an interiors magazine. It sort of says it in the title, but it's a strange beast, the world of interiors, and in many ways it's such a broad church. So not only is it a broad church in that it covers loads of different kinds of interiors, so we do anything from, we might do a tiny chapel in Estonia, or we might do a stage set for film and theatre. Like we had the exclusive on the film sets for Queer, the Luca Guadagnino film.
Oh, cool.
That's so cool.
But we'll also do a beautiful palazzo in Milan, or a incredible office building that's been like exceptionally designed. But then on top of that, we've got a really big focus on literature, stage, screen, travel. It's sort of everything. It's like all the good stuff. So I like to think of it more as being a kind of culture title than it is specifically an interiors title, because we're just able to pull in these strands from many different places.
Well, it becomes like the narrative, doesn't it? Like the way something is on the inside and what happens there and who goes there and all those kind of things.
Yeah, and what those spaces say about you.
We've spoken to several writers over the course of this podcast, and I guess you kind of began as that was part of your work life. You were a writer.
Yeah, that was definitely the way in.
Yeah, and the reason why I sort of bring that up is that something that repeatedly comes up is that it is by nature quite solitary, and then people tend to sort of neglect their health and well-being because of that. But then the flip side of it, and I think we've spoken about it a few times, is that when people introduce or even just start to think about that, looking after themselves and being healthier and all the rest of it and moving more, that then the quality of their work tends to improve and feel better. Is that something that you've noticed in yourself?
Yeah, I think that's so true. But I don't think it's something that I had even wrapped my head around until like really very recently. And I think by its nature, if you're a writer, you're very in your head, and yeah, it has to be a solitary practice. And in a way, in order to do that work, you slightly have to separate yourself off. And I think it's a really, it to me, it seems kind of mad that I have only recently realised that actually by moving your body and feeling healthier and fitter and stronger and more mobile, there's a full circle effect. Like, it actually then means that you can go and sit down and separate yourself off and be in your head. And it does a lot. I think it like improves the quality of that work and that thinking.
I guess a lot of people get into writing from reading initially, and that you would tend to kind of tuck yourself up and read a few books and sit and be still.
Be still, yeah,
and that's kind
right.
of a huge part of it. And it's obviously it's also part of health and well-being with sort of meditation and yoga and things like that as well. But it's you can see why it'd be ignored, can't you? And it's not something that's discussed throughout that journey of kind of getting into reading and writing and studying at university and getting a job at a magazine. It's not really something that would become part of that journey quite easily, would it?
Yeah, I think there's like something to do with that relationship between, it's almost thinking that because you have to have a certain amount of stillness in order to be able to do that work, like stillness and space. This is how my mind, I think, was working anyway, that you can't have the like the physical and also maybe the slightly like stereotypical idea of the sort of pumping music and your head being like full of I don't know, just like the exercise part of it. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. Like
No,
they feel like they sit on really different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't think they need to.
No. I guess they do sit on different ends of the spectrum, but they complement each other.
But
Absolutely.
right.
Because like you are, and I think most people that come, and I think we've said it a few times, that a lot of people that end up coming here are people that wouldn't necessarily have thought, I want to go to a gym, which is why we tricked them and made it look nothing like a gym.
Yeah,
when they walk
you
in.
did.
But then they've quite quickly realised that when you are exercising, your brain, it's almost like it cleans itself out a little bit. And then you go back to doing whatever it is you do for work or anything really, and you kind of feel there's like more clarity.
Yeah, good for like blocks and like like being stagnant, isn't it? Really, move
Yeah,
that energy around your body.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, unblocking some of that stuff and like making it move. And also, and again, I feel like this isn't news for anyone else apart from maybe me, but like truly, I do not think I had experienced an exercise endorphin until about 2 years ago.
All thanks to Georgia, is it?
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be part of that.
She's helped me on that journey. But honestly, I was like, I remember coming out and being like, oh, that's the thing. Like,
feels
that
good.
actually exists.
So were you someone that at school didn't enjoy PE and that kind of thing then?
Yeah, I think I went to a school that was like great in loads and loads and loads of ways, but like very academic, and or at least like that's what they wanted us all to be, so it's super academic and sort of independent. And I think the thing that they weren't brilliant at was that you were very siloed. So you were either someone who was creative or like into theatre or arts, or you were someone who was into science or maths, or you were someone who was into sport, and you kind of somehow weren't allowed to
do
like
a bit of
bridge
both.
the gap.
Yeah.
And then I think between us, you know, as friends, we like hyped up that idea.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably true for loads of people of our age. Like at school, I think that sort of separation existed.
Well, I guess you find your kind of group of people typically, don't you?
Yeah.
And you'd end up doing the same types of things, and that
Yeah, and you've got similar
Dictates where you
interests.
end up.
And so I think there was this, I think you were either seen as being good at team sports, and then like that was it, and that was where all the energy got poured into. And if you didn't fall in that category, you slightly got left behind. And also I was just like, oh, okay, all right, in which case that's not my thing, I'm not
Yeah.
going to do it.
Yeah.
I do think there is something quite interesting about the fact that, and like Dave, you can speak to this as you are married to someone who works very closely in the same world as
Yeah.
me, and I think we all fit into like a certain type of person. Like
Nerds.
there are certain
Big nerds.
little nerds.
Nerdy nerds?
Yeah.
Love that.
Culture nerds.
Yeah.
But there is something in the fact that we're not all, I don't think like that many of us were running out to be on the games pitch, and I don't know, we're not getting behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's like
Those
certain
kind of physical things.
physical things.
Well, my wife describes it as, like, as a child would be really excited, like the polar opposite to me in this respect. They're really excited by going to the library, getting a load of books, and kind of losing herself in that world. And that would be her imagination's gone, and she's kind of like would read several books at once. Whereas I was the total opposite, and I did do a lot of other things at school, not just to do the kind of sporty stuff, but I would have like a physical build up of energy. Even if I was reading, I'd need to know how many pages till the end of the chapter,
So you can finish it.
and
Yeah.
I'd be like, close the book, and then have to like go run around outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
And
too.
like the reason why I could never kind of fully dive into that, and even still now, to be honest, I'm a bit better. But as you're learning to kind of engage with the health side of things, I'm learning to kind of like become still, I suppose.
I've definitely had to find stillness, but I think COVID kind of made me do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely still a learning curve. It doesn't come naturally to me to be still. I love reading every night, but it's taken me 35 years to get to that point.
Yeah. I think also for loads of people, like sends them to sleep. You know, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a physical reaction that you sort of open a book and you like read half a page. Whereas for me, that's such a process of like winding down and decompressing. And I was saying to Georgia earlier, like I've just got back from holiday and I had 4 days where I was on my own, which I hadn't. I don't think I've done a beach holiday like that before. I just had 4 days before I met up with a friend, and I read non-stop and was like all the things that we're describing, like very still, very quiet, very calm. And I feel like it did me so much good.
Yeah.
You know, especially living in London and having the kind of job that I do, actually carving out that time and being able to do that and to like escape into these worlds. And also, I guess as a writer, to see it's kind of work at the same time, because I'm like looking at how other people write and being like, whoa, that's like extraordinary that you're able to put words together in that way, and that's like exercise for my brain at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I can literally feel the like brain muscle
Working away.
working away.
Totally.
I think that's one thing that we've discussed, is that I have learned from you, is that thoughtfulness. Like we are, I think, polar opposites in our brains.
Yeah.
And I think navigating that busy London life, busy work life, full stop, and putting energy into what is actually good for you and beneficial, and like I think that's something you and me have like really discussed over the months of training.
Yeah.
But is that something you've had to like learn? Does it come naturally to you, or you, as you've got to a certain point in your career?
I think I've definitely had to learn that, and I think I'm still learning that. I think particularly coming from so the World of Interiors is the brand that I'm the editor of, but it falls within the stable of a much bigger company called Condé Nast, which I'm sure loads of people will know about, you know, who published Vogue and GQ and all of these big brands. And I've worked there for a really long time, and I started but essentially my career started there, and I started off being PA to the editor of House and Garden magazine. Like that was my way in. And so I think for me, because I have worked my way up in all of these different roles, I found it really difficult letting go of things, like letting go of the responsibilities that I've had. I've just added on. I've just like kept on taking more and more on. And then I took on this role, and it's just like, that is not possible. You can't do all of that stuff. And it's been this I really have to think about it. I I have to be really strict with myself and not only learn how to say no to stuff, but also just understand that like doing everything doesn't make you good at your job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm surrounded by a really brilliant team filled with loads of people who work to an exceptionally high standard and who are capable of doing loads of this stuff. So it's this kind of funny push and pull that I feel like I've been learning on the job. And I think in the long term, it will serve me so well learning how to let go of some of that stuff and be a little clearer about creating like a different kind of space within the working day, you know, like not going like full pelt back to back, doing things like this, like carving out time to exercise and understanding how it all feeds into everything feeds into everything.
I guess now you're also in a position where you kind of dictate the environment within the office to some extent, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because how you behave as sort of the leader of that department would rub off on everybody else. Because I imagine you would have, like you said there, you've worked and come up through all the different jobs and you've probably experienced people that have done it well, people that haven't done it so well. And that in itself is quite a challenge, I would have thought. Yeah,
it's a huge challenge. And it's, you know, without like over egging it, it's like a real responsibility as well, because I think at the moment I've got 20 people in the team and I sit at the top of that team. And I have definitely experienced in the past, and not necessarily in teams that I've worked in, but teams I've worked with, where you can see how the culture can shift so much depending on who it is who's leading that team. And if, again, I feel like this is something that maybe has like evolved with time. And I think we all think about this a lot more than maybe people were thinking about it like 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Totally.
But we all spend so much time in our working environment and we spend way more time with the people that we work with than we do, you know, our family and our friends and the people we're in relationships with. So it's really important to set up that environment in a way that feels good for everyone. And like, my God, I bet if you ask my team, they'd be like, she makes loads of mistakes.
But that's kind of, everyone should do that.
But
That's part of being a person.
It's part of being a person. And I think, you know, I think that is a huge part of why what you do here, for me anyway, is so brilliant, is because you have set up this environment where you walk in, everyone is like super friendly. It doesn't feel like there's a hierarchy here. You know, for someone who was feeling a bit like nervy about coming to a gym, and I don't feel embarrassed, and I don't feel, you know, and I'm like, there's someone next to me on a machine like pumping like a wild amount of weight that I couldn't even dream of doing, and they look sensational, and I'm, you know, but there's no, I'm not made to feel like small or silly in any way.
Well, we tried to make sure that the physical space was designed to kind of guarantee that in a way. Even like the placement of certain machines that people maybe would use and feel a bit not silly but like vulnerable using.
Maybe vulnerable is a better word.
Trying to make people feel like, oh, I can do that, and I know that I'm not on display like that. But then in an office world, do you think that there's been a change in terms of like how an office is put together that facilitates people being healthier in general? Is that something you would have seen, or do you think it's more like a mindset thing that people are giving themselves more time?
I think it's probably a mindset thing. I think, you know, like the sort of the younger 20-year-olds coming up are way better at it than we were in terms of like being really boundaried about things. I think there's something really interesting though in terms of like the physical space and how that does impact your like health at work, I suppose. Like how cool and amazing to have thought about the placement of the machines and how that's going to impact people.
That we happened upon it in a way, and even like when you walk in. So you remember our first gym, in the little basement, and it had this. I think we've spoken about this before, haven't we? There was the kitchen in that area where people would wait to go in because it was essentially 3 little training rooms.
It's too small,
So people would hang out there, and it kind of instantly put people in a position where they'd start to talk to each other, and you'd meet interesting people, and often people that had worked together would see each other there. So we made sure that when you walk in to this version of Before the Lights, there is this big kitchen, and the big kitchen island where people tend to kind of congregate around and stand after they've trained, or kind of hang out before they train. And that, it was probably the first time we'd really thought about it. So we had to work with an interior design team, obviously, to build this place. And one of their questions was like, how are you going to try and make sure that you keep the same feeling when you come in? Because that's the kind of identity of what we do as a company. All those things you just said then. And it would have been super easy to kind of to lose that straight away.
Yeah, and get too swept up in the aesthetics of it all, like wanting it to look whatever, like slick and cool, but actually, which obviously it looks all of those things, to be clear.
That's big praise indeed.
Yeah.
But I think there is something in that. Like, I really remember that about that first space. I remember coming in and Nigel Slater was sitting on the sofa, and we had just done his house, and he and I hadn't met before. And I was you know, I'm like in my sort of sweaty gym gear. I was like, Nigel, Emily, I'm the editor of The World of Interiors. We've just done your house. He was like, oh, it was so nice.
That's such a funny thing to like. You've been and shot and filmed the house.
Yeah.
But the people haven't actually
haven't met.
Yeah.
Which is probably like how that works, I would have thought.
Yeah.
When you go
lots
to a
of the
house, you're
time.
not necessarily meeting the owners, it's the designers and the people that have put that together, isn't it?
I mean, with that, The World of Interiors, it's sometimes there are designers involved, but actually less often. So you do tend to meet the person who owns the house, and you know, the whole thing which I'm sort of trying to communicate with the magazine and with the website and with everything is this idea that the spaces that we live in become receptacles for our identity, and it actually doesn't really matter what they look like, and it doesn't matter, like, it certainly doesn't matter like the value of the objects you're with, but it's like what they mean to you and what they say about you and why you choose to keep certain things. And you know, it's like things that your family members have passed on to you, and they could be, you know, it could be like letters or like someone's glasses that they left behind, or postcards from galleries. And I think I personally find that so interesting and really like moving and compelling, that it holds so much meaning.
Yeah.
And I think it's really easy to walk into a space and not plug into all of these things that are happening, like all these layers that exist within a space. And I think, you know, the idea of your home is so important, and what it does for us, and the security it provides and the safety it provides, and like, frankly, like, lucky us if we have a home.
Yeah.
So I find it so interesting thinking about it and like peeling back those layers, and just particularly that idea of what our interior spaces say about us, like whether it's intentional or not, which to my mind is why, you know, of course, like, there are amazing interior designers doing like exceptional work, but for me it's like, it's almost more interesting when you take that person out of the equation and you're just seeing like your vision. And like, even calling it a vision is like over egging it. It's just like how you live, and why you choose to live with the things you live with.
I think that's so cool. I mean, for someone who's like, I don't know if you can relate to this, but moved around a lot as well, I've collected, for one, a number of really weird things that probably wouldn't go together, but also having like certain things in my house make me feel comfortable, grounded, and then with that I have certain rituals. So for me it's a lot of breath work and grounding, because often, not so much now, but before, when I was moving around a lot, it was really important for me to kind of make that place my home, or make myself feel grounded and comfortable. Do you have any rituals on the mindfulness side?
I don't know if I've got rituals so much, but I think you and I have had a similar sort of growing up experience. Like, I also moved around loads. I think I'd lived in maybe 8 different houses by the time I was 14.
Okay.
And
wow.
They were, and some of them we were in for like 2 years, and some of them were in for 6 months, and they were always rented. So it was like this idea of how do you put your stamp on somewhere. And one of the things, like my mum used to paint rooms the same colour wherever we went.
Okay.
So like our sitting room would always be this like amazing kind of ochre yellow colour, and like the kitchen would be green. And it's funny, I haven't really thought about that. I didn't think about that at the time. That was just like what she did.
Yeah.
But when I think about it now, I'm like, yeah, I see that. It's like you trying to put your mark on a space that is transient in some way, and it's like how you're putting your roots down. And actually, at the moment, I'm in between places, and I'm staying with friends, and it's funny you talking about rituals. I think I'm like craving those rituals, and I don't quite have them at the moment. I think maybe I've had to sort of slightly put them on ice until I'm in,
Wherever.
fingers crossed, in my new place.
It's also then, I suppose, it has the space can dictate how you feel and mentally what state you're in, which then has a knock-on effect into
Everything.
physically how people behave and what they do. And
Yeah.
is that something that in your world people like give much thought to, or do you think that that's kind of just it's a byproduct more so?
I think people really do think about it, and like more and more than they ever used to. I mean, this is like not totally connected, but I remember my friend who used to be a secondary school teacher, and I remember her saying two things to me. She was like, one, when the weather is windy, the kids go mad.
Yeah.
She's like, there's something about that just like sends them all demented. And two, she was like, she'd worked in, I don't know, like maybe 3 different schools, and she said the ones where the corridors are narrower have much worse behaviour, because all the kids are like jostling up against each other, and they're like bashing shoulders, and then like everyone gets a bit antsy. And I remember it just like really landing that idea. It's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
And okay, like as adults living in a house or a flat, like maybe that's not what you're contending with, but there are so many things that, like, whether you notice it or not, will be impacting how you feel at any given moment. And it's the same thing. You get on the tube and it's empty, and you get a seat and it's like brilliant.
Yeah.
The day is fine. You get on a tube and you're like stuck in someone's armpit, and
This morning.
yeah,
Not
it's
cool.
grim.
No strikes.
Yeah.
It's grim.
It kind of sets the tone
And it
for
sets
the
the
day, doesn't
tone.
it? That's something that, I don't know, you might not have experienced this, but it's a deliberate design in the sports world where in your home changing room, in this country anyway, you tend to make them wider and longer, and everyone can see each other. So if there's a manager speaking, or at half time, for example, you would have like groups of players in different positions would discuss what's going well, what's not. And it's made so that is an easy thing to happen. Whereas in the away changing room, they're deliberately like L-shaped and more cramped often. And I think this comes in at a certain level of sport. Like most sort of club games, it wouldn't necessarily be the case, but you definitely go to like places where you sit like that, and to talk to someone you have to kind of like jostle around and all the rest of it, and it's not pleasant. Getting changed is annoying, and like your stuff's all wet and all. And it's been a thing that I don't know who first thought
cool.
of it, but a lot of the older football grounds and rugby grounds have that.
It's like, it's sort of like
You're just
strategic
messing with
Yeah,
people.
strategic.
sabotage. Like,
Yeah, you're
that's
just going
kind of,
like that's something that's going to piss them off.
yeah,
basically.
and probably in a way that you're not even going to fully register why it's pissing you off.
Yeah.
Like it's so low level.
I hadn't noticed it until someone told me, because sometimes you arrive somewhere and you'd literally be like, oh, for fuck's sake, like
Yeah.
look how many, like there's all the pegs are like that far apart, and you've got to like really squeeze in, and you're just like, this sucks. And then someone mentioned it to me one day about those old grounds. So I'd played rugby in like really places that were like towns that would have previously been in like the top league, for example, but then as the game became professional, the big cities kind of became bigger and bigger, and those clubs moved on. But I would be playing in places where you go to like, I don't know, St Ives or Torquay or somewhere like that, and where it's still like the not the hub of the town, but it's like a bigger deal. And you rock up and you're just like, oh god, like, you got to like squeeze yourselves in, and it would always be annoying. And it is like something that really then you have to snap out of it.
Yeah.
When you leave the
Yeah.
space, you have to be like, It's the equivalent of being on the tube and thinking like, actually, today will be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's like going back to what you were saying about rituals, it's even things in your space. It's like how much lighting affects you, you know, rather than just having like one overhead light. It's like, oh, how nice to have a lamp on.
Yeah.
Like really simple little things, or like smells and taste. It's like that full sort of sensory experience of being in a space, like the like feel of stuff.
Mhm.
I think all of those things come into play in ways that we like sometimes don't register. In the same way, like what you're wearing, like how does it feel on your body? And yeah, I don't know. I think there's like so much stuff there that is happening to us every day that we don't necessarily think about, but is like inevitably impacting how you're feeling.
Have you seen or even considered like shooting or writing about spaces that are predominantly designed for health and well-being purposes? Is that something that's happened yet? Because I think in this industry, design, design and all those things we were just talking about are more and more relevant, and there's much more variety in terms of what's on offer now, rather than just going to a leisure centre gym.
Yeah.
You can kind of engage with health in various different ways. But has it got to that point where, from a design perspective, it's even
Being talked about.
discussed?
Yeah, we did a while ago, and I can't remember the name of it. I think there was a little gym in Leighton that we did a couple of years ago, and then like we've, you know, maybe less on the sort of like health and well-being side of it, but you know, there are like incredible sort of Victorian pools that we've
Some of those are
shot, which
beautiful.
are
They're really
so
cool.
beautiful.
Like those places are unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, like, and we've done. It's funny, like we sort of have pulled in these ideas from all over the place. And like when the Olympics were on, we did so many stories, and like shooting on sort of athletics pitches and all these things. But no, I don't know that we have. I don't think we anyway have like started looking kind of fully at exactly what you're talking about.
Maybe even if there's like particularly nice gyms in people's houses.
Yeah.
We've seen
Yeah.
a few, like through our line of
Definitely.
work, you end up going to some people's houses or houses that they've been put in whilst they're filming. And you walk into like the space that we're occupying and you're just like, wow.
I've seen my
Really?
like
Unbelievable.
dream gym.
Really, like what makes it a dream gym?
For me, it's light
Mm.
and also like not being like black equipment,
Yeah.
like just really soft and gentle, and then just having everything that I would ever want in a gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've got a nice garden outside. Dreamy.
Yeah.
One day,
Lucky people
lucky
to be there.
people. We've seen some cool houses though as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's ones
Some
where
very
I've been
cool
to
spaces.
one where you walk down into a basement and there was like a 30-meter swimming pool in it,
Wow.
which I think it must have gone all the way out underneath the garden to be built. But obviously, that person was very keen on having it there. And I suppose if you've got the means to do it, then
Why not?
why not?
Yeah, I bet
How fun.
you see behind some closed
I guess
doors
a lot
that
of
most
a
people
lot of
don't.
those places that we would have gone into over the years would probably be places that would end up in your magazine at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah.
But we see a very different side to it. So we're not taken in and shown the house.
Sure.
We often go in like a side door and you end up in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even that's nice. Like-
Whereas people probably aren't even thinking to show.
oh yeah,
me
it'd be
the
last
gym.
thing on their minds. But I think it'd be super interesting. So
Yeah,
I think
me
now
too.
there is that connection between health and creativity and people's ability to work and all the rest of it. It's definitely it's part of being a person, and it feeds into part of how someone lives and
Just
what the space
livelihood.
looks like and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
We can pivot into
Pivot.
the section that we do call, I suppose it's quite a good time to pivot into it because we were discussing the kind of Hollywood world slightly. But we do call it Humbled in Hollywood, which maybe isn't the most applicable title in this particular episode. I can't think of something off the top of my head. But in essence, it's, and I think this applies, is a moment where someone has that kind of, it's been humbled or brought back down to earth in a world that can be quite, from the outside, look quite glamorous and impressive all the time. And I think that you assume that when you look at these big titles like World of Interiors and Vogue and all these things you're talking about, a very famous, well-known titles, and
Yeah.
you assume then the work that goes into it and the life that's lived alongside it is one of kind of glamour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this funny, like, what's the best way to describe it? It's like this sort of mirror existence where you get to experience, like, sometimes for like good stretches of time, this, like you say, like really kind of glamorous, exceptional, beautiful, like high-end world, and then you like step back into your reality. But there is this sort of funny push and pull with it. And yeah, you told me we were going to do this section. I was like, humbled in Hollywood. But I don't know that I can like
Don't take it too literally.
specifically talk about Hollywood. I was like, I've definitely been to some like very, very glam things where I have felt very humble.
Yeah.
Quite. Yeah, like maybe I wouldn't normally be in those places. And then I was like, what are the stories I can actually tell you that I like don't mind being in the public domain? I was like, nope, not that one or that one. And then I texted a friend of mine and was like, well, can you think of some embarrassing stories that like kind of fit this brief? And she sent me so many.
Just a big list.
Yeah, in like really quick succession. I was like, again, I can't say any of those. And then what I also did, which I would recommend just to make yourself laugh, is I searched embarrassed in my WhatsApp messages.
Okay.
And it went
good
back
idea.
all the way to like 2011 or something.
Wow.
And it really like excavated some stuff that I would rather have like stayed deep underground. Like loads of quite mortifying things that have happened over the years. Yeah. So I don't know in terms of like the sort of Hollywood side of it. I mean, I remember I went to this sort of very, very glam party, and it was kind of the first one of that kind that I had been to. And
Is that at a certain level when you then are invited to various things that if you're working?
yeah, I think it probably is like partly to do with like being at a certain level, and it's like where the world of interiors is positioned. So yeah, I don't know. It's only something that had sort of happened in like the last 2-3 years, and I was lent something from, like, to my mind, one of the sort of chicest, most elegant labels that you could possibly. And I was like feeling so good about myself and what I was wearing. And I felt $1 million, and walked in and was introduced to a writer who is, to my mind, like one of the best, most intelligent, coolest people around. And she like rubbed the sleeve of what I was wearing and went, that looks like Primark.
Oh, God.
You're joking.
No, I was like, oh, okay.
Stop it.
No. Yeah, it was quite
my-
brutal.
Spend the rest of the night just being like, oh.
Yeah.
Primark.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. What a meanie.
She actually was saying it to be funny, I think, but I was like, oof, no.
Yeah.
Humbled.
That is a very good
That is a
one.
good one.
Very humbling.
Wait, I have one last question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to finish up, but are you reading a book right now?
I have just finished the diaries of someone called Helen Garner. Have you heard of her?
No.
So she's this Australian writer who I think is like really, really, really well known in Australia, but I think has only started to be published in the UK, or at least her diaries have only been published in the UK like quite recently, maybe in the last decade.
Is she still living? If it's her diaries?
Yeah.
That's quite interesting because often that is someone that's passed
Yeah,
away,
you'd
isn't
think, and she writes loads about how in the diaries, like how she wants to
it? Well, I
burn
suppose you've
them.
got like David
Oh.
Sedaris and people like that.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
happens.
How she wants to burn them.
Yeah, because she writes so openly about everything that's going on in her life, and I guess it's that like thought process at the same time, which is like, what if anyone ever reads these? So the first volume is I think it's in the 80s, and she's like separating from her partner, and she's got a young daughter. And then the next one, she starts having an affair with someone, and then in the final one, it's about the like collapse of that relationship. It's like it's really serious, but they are so good. It's like amazing. It's amazing reading someone's diaries who's like written so vulnerably, and especially a woman, and especially when it's like so focused on domestic life, I think. You know, it's not these kind of like big political grand ideas. It's like what is happening in the home, what's happening in her relationships, like what's happening with her relationship with her daughter and her parents, and like specifically this man who in the second book, who she thinks is like the best possible thing, and then it's like this relationship just slowly
Starts to
disintegrating.
Oh, wow.
They are so good. I
Oh
would
my God.
really recommend
You've
them.
sold it.
Shall we do
Yeah.
that thing that other podcasts do where we put a link in the description? Jimmy's
Sounds-
like,
Jimmy's
just
like,
give me
"That's too
extra
much
work. That's what they do though. That's what Adam Buxton does. So
I
think
love
we
Adam
should-
Buxton.
Yeah.
And that is, we are trying to be him.
Yeah, aren't we all?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm like, how do I make the world of interiors more like an Adam
Adam
Buxton
Buxton.
podcast?
I think he'll probably listen to this and then get in touch.
This is it.
The
Imagine,
likelihood
see.
is high, I would say.
truly.
What is coming up next? That's often like with the actors and people, it's always what's happening, what films are coming out. But in the world of interiors world, what's happening? Because you guys live in the future, I found out by living with Emily, my wife.
Your wife?
Not this Emily.
Yeah. Surprise.
'Cause I never realised that'd be a good diary. I never realised everything that in magazine world. You've probably done Christmas already, haven't you?
So this is getting into like the really nerdy
It's
elements
so
of
far
it.
ahead, isn't it?
Is this interesting for people?
It
I
is,
don't
'cause
know, but
people that don't
here
know
we
about
are.
it, people like me that just lived in smelly rugby changing rooms, don't know about it.
So she lives in Emily, Dave's wife,
Emily Senior,
Emily
There's
Senior.
Taylor and
Emily
Emily
Senior,
Senior.
no,
other Emily, or as in our early days at House and Garden where we worked together, she was called Good Emily and I was called Bad Emily. I know, by our old boss.
Let's not unpick that.
Yeah, no, that's like giving away too much. But at House and Garden, they work really far ahead, and we actually only work about 6 weeks to 2 months ahead, and it's all to do with where your magazine sits on the printing press. So within Condé Nast there are loads of different titles, and it just so happens that House and Garden is the first on the printing press and the World of Interiors is the last on the printing press. So I've gone from working super far in the future to like only a tiny bit in the future.
Yeah.
Which
Still,
actually
still living in the future.
but still in the future.
Still cool.
I live in the future, yeah.
Welcome.
But yeah, you're gonna love it here.
Welcome to the now.
But what is coming up? We've just done, and this moment will have passed, but you'll be able to see it online. We've just done our big October issue, which is when all the new collections come out, and so it's like the new fabric and wallpaper collections. So it's a bit like if you ever watched the September issue, which was the documentary about Vogue, like the equivalent of what's going on in the fashion world. But we did this big, mad shoot, which has just kind of run away with itself in terms of how successful it's been, which was based on, talking of books, this 1980s book by someone called Jane Asher, who I don't know if people will remember, but she was sort of a bit of an icon in the 80s, and she was an actor and a model, and she used to go out with Paul McCartney. But one of the things that she became known for in the 80s was this iconic fancy dress book. And you like, honestly, link it in the show notes.
Get to work, Jimmy.
It's so brilliant. And anyway, it's like weird and wonderful. And so for our big collection shoot, we recreated it, but like within the sort of the world of interiors aesthetic and world.
So cool.
And we got Jane Asher involved, and we got loads of these like brilliant people to be part of it. So our front cover for the October issue is Richard E. Grant dressed as a candelabra, and
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
he sort of looks like Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast. And it's all of the new collection fabrics, but it's also like the lamps are made from sort of spray painted gold, like fusilli pasta.
Oh wow.
And then we have Joanna Lumley, who's a wall with flying ducks going across it. And we had Amari Douglas and Ollie Alexander as a pair of columns.
So this is all in one big picture?
No, it's over like 26 pages.
Oh, wow.
That's so cool.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm
We'll
dressed
have
as
to
a
get it.
Should we do our
paintbrush.
version?
You're dressed as a paintbrush?
Yeah,
Actually, I
which
saw a
is-
picture of that and I hadn't understood the context.
Yeah,
So
you
now
need to see it within
Emily just
context.
showed me. Good Emily had shown me a picture.
Of
And I
bad
was
Emily.
like, she was like, wow, look at this. And I was like, what?
Which is a really reasonable response to have.
Now it makes sense. I'd forgotten about that.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
So that was really, really fun. And we did like various things on Instagram and it's just like blown up. It was in every tabloid. Like the Daily Mail did a story, like the Daily Record, the Daily Star. It was on Lorraine.
No way.
So it's just been really fun and sort of wild that it's like taken on this life of its own.
That's a good Humbled in Hollywood. I'm a paintbrush.
Yeah.
In the Daily Mail.
Right. I know. Like, it's my career's taken a new direction.
I bet that
wasn't
was something you
expecting.
wrote down as a goal to have.
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah,
Manifested that one.
yeah. In my next review.
Oh, that sounds exciting. We'll have to see that. We'll have to,
Yeah.
Is that a thing you can bring in? Is that a physical thing? Is it all online?
No, you can bring it in and you can see it online. Yeah, both.
We'll have a copy here.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should definitely
Put
have a
it on
copy of
the-
that.
Put it in the library
yeah. Do
Yeah, we'll add it
somewhere.
to the
sneak that in.
collection.
Oh well, thank you very much for agreeing to come on.
thanks for
Um,
having
Yeah,
me.
thank you.
You stepping out of your comfort zone and us stepping into a different creative sphere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's been great. I think it's been
Super
really,
interesting.
really interesting. Like a whole
Yeah.
different view on health and why it's important to consider it and how it comes across and all those kind of things. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks.